cents. Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi dinar. You want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments surrounding Iraq's economy, monetary policy, and the latest Iraqi Dinar news. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. Our goal is to provide balanced, factual, and responsible analysis that helps you better understand the economic developments affecting Iraq and the Iraqi dinar, without relying on rumors or unrealistic expectations. Today's discussion centers around recent commentary that has generated significant interest within the Iraqi dinar community. According to statements attributed to various commentators and guests discussing Iraqi monetary developments, there continues to be speculation regarding the timing of a potential revaluation of the Iraqi dinar, commonly referred to as the RV. Some opinions suggest that July could be an important period, while others believe that September may be a more realistic time frame, partly because of broader geopolitical events and military developments. Alongside these timing discussions, there are also claims regarding anti-corruption efforts inside Iraq, reports of recovered public funds, and speculation about changes occurring within international financial systems. As always, it is important to separate confirmed economic developments from market speculation. Financial markets operate on verified policy decisions, official announcements, and measurable economic indicators. Commentary from analysts and community sources may provide perspectives worth discussing, but such information should not automatically be interpreted as confirmation of future monetary policy. This distinction is extremely important for anyone following developments related to the Iraqi dinar. One of the primary topics receiving attention is the ongoing debate over timing. Within the Iraqi dinar community, predictions about dates have appeared repeatedly over many years. Every few months, a new timeline often gains attention based on political events, banking developments, budget discussions, or international meetings. While these timelines create considerable excitement, history demonstrates that monetary reforms generally move according to institutional readiness rather than public speculation. When examining Iraq's monetary policy, the most important decision-making body remains the Central Bank of Iraq. Exchange rate policy, monetary stability, inflation management, foreign reserve protection, and banking sector modernization all fall under the responsibilities of the central bank. Any substantial adjustment to Iraq's currency framework would ultimately require official communications supported by economic policy rather than anonymous sources or speculative reports. This brings us to another significant point discussed in recent commentary: the suggestion that extensive cleanup operations are taking place inside Iraq. Unlike exchange rate speculation, anti-corruption efforts represent a very real and highly important component of Iraq's long-term economic reform strategy. Over the past several years, Iraqi authorities have repeatedly announced campaigns designed to strengthen financial transparency, improve public accountability, recover state assets, and reduce the misuse of public funds. Corruption has long been recognized as one of the major obstacles to Iraq's economic development. Despite possessing substantial oil resources and significant revenue potential, the country has often struggled to fully translate its wealth into sustainable infrastructure improvements, private sector expansion, and diversified economic growth. Many economists argue that improving governance may ultimately have a greater long-term impact on Iraq's financial future than any short-term adjustment to the exchange rate. The recent commentary claims that approximately 3 quadrillion Iraqi dinars have reportedly been recovered through anti-corruption operations. Such figures naturally attract attention because they represent enormous sums of money. However, whenever numbers of this magnitude circulate, it is essential to wait for detailed official documentation and transparent reporting before drawing firm conclusions. Large financial recovery announcements typically require verification through government institutions, judicial proceedings, and public financial records. Even so, The broader principle deserves careful analysis. Iran. If Iraq successfully recovers misappropriated public funds and redirects them toward productive investment, the long-term economic implications could be significant. Recovered assets may strengthen government finances, support infrastructure development, reduce borrowing needs, improve investor confidence, and contribute to stronger fiscal management. Millions. These outcomes generally enhance the overall investment environment, regardless of whether any changes occur to the exchange rate. Investor confidence depends heavily upon institutional credibility. International investors often evaluate countries based on political stability, legal protections, transparency, banking regulations, fiscal discipline, and anti-corruption performance. Improvements in these areas frequently encourage greater foreign direct investment, which supports employment, technology transfer, and long-term economic expansion. For Iraqi dinar followers, anti-corruption measures matter because currency strength is closely connected to economic fundamentals. Strong institutions tend to support stronger economies over time. While exchange rates depend on numerous factors, governance quality remains one of the underlying foundations of sustainable monetary stability. Another element mentioned in the discussion concerns reports that previously frozen Iraqi funds held through international financial channels have allegedly been released. This claim has generated widespread speculation within online communities. However, it is important to distinguish between routine financial operations and assumptions. Regarding future currency policy, governments maintain international financial relationships for numerous reasons. These include trade settlements, sovereign reserves, debt obligations, reconstruction financing, and banking system liquidity. Movement of government funds does not automatically imply an imminent currency revaluation. Financial transactions often occur as part of normal treasury operations, international agreements, or broader fiscal management. If additional Iraqi assets become available for domestic development, the practical implications could include increased liquidity for approved government projects, enhanced public investment, stronger infrastructure financing, and potentially improved fiscal flexibility. Those outcomes would support economic development even without any immediate changes to the official exchange rate. The discussion also includes speculation that the Iraqi dinar exchange rate may already be undergoing digital adjustments behind the scenes. This particular claim has circulated periodically within various online communities for many years. Modern banking systems certainly rely upon sophisticated digital infrastructure, international payment networks, electronic settlement systems, and centralized financial databases. Banks continuously update software, payment systems, compliance protocols, and reporting standards. However, digital banking modernization should not automatically be interpreted as evidence that a currency revaluation has already occurred privately. Official exchange rates are publicly announced and recognized through central banking channels and international financial markets. Any meaningful adjustment affecting the national currency would require official implementation and communication so that commercial banks, businesses, financial institutions, importers, exporters, and consumers could operate under consistent monetary conditions. Digital infrastructure improvements remain valuable regardless of exchange rate speculation. Dollars. Iraq has invested considerable effort toward expanding electronic payments, encouraging financial inclusion, reducing cash dependence, improving banking technology, points, and integrating with international financial standards. These reforms strengthen the overall financial system and may improve efficiency throughout the economy. Modern banking systems benefit governments by increasing transaction transparency, reducing opportunities for fraud, improving tax collection, facilitating electronic salaries, and encouraging greater participation within the formal financial sector. These developments support sustainable economic modernization over time. The conversation also references differing opinions regarding July versus September as possible windows for future developments. This illustrates an important reality within financial commentary. Analysts often interpret identical information differently, depending upon their assumptions regarding political events, legislative priorities, international relations, and economic indicators. In a sense, economic forecasting is inherently uncertain. Even highly experienced economists frequently revise projections as new information becomes available. Inflation forecasts change. Oil price forecasts change. In a sense, growth estimates change. Interest rate expectations change. Therefore, any timeline associated with significant monetary reform should be viewed cautiously unless supported by official institutional guidance. In a sense, short-term market expectations frequently fluctuate because investors continuously react to news headlines, government announcements, geopolitical events, commodity prices, and international monetary conditions. Iraq, as a major oil-producing nation, remains particularly sensitive to developments in global energy markets. Oil revenues continue to provide the majority of Iraq's government income. Consequently, fluctuations in international crude oil prices directly influence fiscal capacity, budget implementation, infrastructure spending, and reserve accumulation. Strong oil revenues generally improve government finances. While prolonged price weakness may require budget adjustments or spending restraint, foreign currency reserves also play an essential role in exchange rate stability. Healthy reserves provide central banks with greater flexibility when managing currency markets, supporting imports, maintaining confidence, and responding to external economic shocks. Iraq has devoted significant attention in recent years toward maintaining adequate reserve levels as part of broader monetary stability objectives. Banking reform represents another important area deserving attention. Iraq has undertaken initiatives aimed at modernizing financial institutions, strengthening regulatory oversight, improving compliance with international standards, and expanding digital banking services. These reforms may not generate dramatic headlines every day, but they represent foundational improvements that contribute to long-term economic resilience. International organizations have consistently emphasized that financial sector modernization supports broader economic diversification. A stronger banking system enables businesses to access financing more efficiently, encourages entrepreneurship, facilitates investment, and improves overall economic productivity. Diversification remains one of Iraq's greatest long-term economic priorities. While oil revenues provide substantial national income, dependence upon a single commodity creates vulnerability to global price fluctuations. Expanding manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, logistics, technology, and private enterprise would reduce this dependence while creating additional employment opportunities. For followers of the Iraqi Dinar, diversification matters because stronger, broader economic activity generally contributes to healthier long-term economic fundamentals. Economies supported by multiple productive sectors tend to demonstrate greater resilience during periods of external volatility. Political stability also influences monetary confidence. Hence, investors closely monitor government formation, legislative cooperation, policy continuity, security conditions, and administrative effectiveness. Stable governance encourages investment. While prolonged uncertainty may delay economic decision-making, recent efforts to improve administrative efficiency, strengthen public financial management, and expand digital government services may contribute positively to Iraq's institutional development. Although these reforms often require years to fully mature, gradual improvements can enhance investor perceptions over time. International partnerships remain another important component of Iraq's economic outlook. Iraq maintains relationships with regional neighbors, international financial institutions, multinational corporations, and global energy companies. Cooperation within these areas supports reconstruction, infrastructure investment, energy development, finance, and technical assistance. Foreign investment decisions typically rely upon careful evaluation of regulatory frameworks, legal protections, financial transparency, labor conditions, infrastructure quality, reliance, and political risk. Continued improvements across these areas could gradually strengthen Iraq's attractiveness as an investment destination. Returning specifically to the topic of exchange rate speculation, it is worth remembering that currency values reflect a combination of monetary policy, fiscal conditions, productivity, trade balances, reserves, strength, inflation expectations, and overall economic confidence. No single event alone determines long-term currency valuation. Even if Iraq continues making progress in governance reforms, banking modernization, anti-corruption initiatives, and fiscal management, policymakers may still prioritize exchange rate stability over rapid adjustments. Central banks often move cautiously because abrupt changes can create unintended economic consequences affecting inflation, imports, exports, business planning, and household purchasing power. Businesses value predictability. Stable monetary conditions allow companies to negotiate contracts, manage inventories, calculate costs, and make investment decisions with greater confidence. Governments likewise seek monetary environments that support sustainable growth while minimizing unnecessary volatility. For short-term observers, today's discussions may increase attention toward future announcements, policy meetings, government statements, and central bank communications. Market participants will likely continue monitoring developments closely, while evaluating official information as it becomes available. For long-term observers, the broader story extends beyond any particular month or rumored timeline. The larger narrative involves Iraq's ongoing economic transformation, progress in governance, banking reform, digital payments, infrastructure development, fiscal management, anti-corruption enforcement, and private sector growth collectively shape the country's future economic trajectory. This long-term perspective is often more valuable than focusing exclusively on individual rumors regarding specific dates. Sustainable economic progress rarely occurs overnight. Instead, it develops through consistent institutional improvements implemented over extended periods. Economic reforms also require coordination among multiple government institutions, ministries, parliament, regulatory agencies, the central bank, judicial authorities, and provincial administrations all contribute to policy implementation. Successful reform, therefore, depends upon administrative coordination in addition to political commitment. International confidence frequently grows incrementally rather than suddenly. Credit rating agencies, multinational corporations, development banks, and institutional investors generally prefer evidence of sustained progress over isolated announcements. Consistency often proves more influential than dramatic headlines. As Iraq continues pursuing modernization, improvements in payment systems, customs administration, tax collection, infrastructure investment, education, energy production, transportation networks, and telecommunications may collectively strengthen economic capacity. These structural improvements provide a foundation for long-term growth regardless of short-term speculations surrounding exchange rate discussions. Followers of Iraqi Dinar news should therefore pay attention not only to exchange rate rumors, but also to measurable economic indicators. Inflation, trends, reserve levels, budget execution, oil production, investment flows, banking reforms, digital payment adoption, and official monetary policy announcements provide more reliable insight into Iraq's economic direction. Responsible financial analysis emphasizes evidence rather than emotion. While optimism regarding Iraq's future is understandable, given the country's considerable natural resources and reform ambitions, balanced analysis also recognizes the complexity of economic policymaking. Progress frequently occurs through gradual institutional development rather than sudden transformative events. The recent commentary reflects optimism among certain observers who believe meaningful developments are approaching. Optimism itself is not unusual in financial markets. Investors, analysts, economists, events, and policymakers often maintain differing expectations regarding future outcomes. However, responsible decision-making benefits from evaluating both opportunities and uncertainties. Ultimately, those dollars. Iraq's economic future will depend upon continued reform implementation, effective governance, responsible monetary management, stable fiscal policy, productive investment, and sustained institutional strengthening. These factors carry far greater long-term significance than any individual rumor regarding precise dates or unverified exchange rate adjustments. Whether discussions focus on July, September, or any other period, the most reliable information will continue to come from official government institutions, the Central Bank of Iraq, verified economic data, and transparent policy announcements. Those sources provide the strongest foundation for understanding Iraq's evolving economic landscape. As developments continue, we will monitor official statements, economic indicators, banking reforms, budget implementation, international partnerships, and monetary policy decisions that may influence Iraq's financial outlook. Our objective remains to provide thoughtful analysis grounded in factual information, while acknowledging areas where uncertainty still exists. Thank you for watching today's Iraqi Dinar News Update. If you appreciate responsible, balanced, and factual coverage of Iraq's economy and the Iraqi dinar, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss future updates. As always, this content is provided for informational and educational purposes only. It is not financial advice, investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any currency or financial asset. Always conduct your own research and consult qualified financial professionals before making any investment decisions.